Is it a matter of art imitating life? You be the judge. Tomorrow night at 8, Channel 11 begins its hot new miniseries, Vendetta 2, The New Mafia. It's a tale of a mafia son trying to take over his father's business and the reporter who almost gets killed covering the story. But just how close is the movie to the real-life crime families plying their illegal trade here on the streets of New York? As Mary Murphy tells us, sometimes truth is stranger than fiction.
Eli Wallach as fictional aging godfather Frank Latella may be playing a movie role, but in numerous ways, Vendetta 2, The New Mafia, seems to mirror the gangster stories we hear in New York. Although sometimes real life here is even more theatrical, like when we get to see accused godfathers like Vincent the Chin Gigante get arrested in their bathrobes, with a priest brother proclaiming that Vincent's mentally ill.
My brother hasn't committed any crime. He's no boss. He can hardly take care of himself.
Model actress Carol Alt stars in Vendetta 2, hiding out in a convent after killing her father's assassin. Although it's hard to imagine a New York mafia daughter going to that extreme. The crime capo is played by Burt Young of Rocky fame, who tries to defuse a major mobster feud involving a father and son.
You were finished. You were finished, Father. Don't you ever cross me again.
It is hard to imagine someone like John A. Gotti, known as Junior, the son of convicted mob boss John Gotti, talking to his own dad like that. What the real Junior does, according to the FBI, is run his jailed father's crime family with a little help from Dad's friends. But the FBI believes Junior may be pushed out of position.
He might decide the best thing to do is to step down, and if he resists, there may be some violence to force him to step down.
And he may not be around?
It's certainly a possibility. We've seen in the case of the Colombo family how quickly one or two killings can escalate into a full-scale mob war.
Seen it indeed. Most recently on October 19th, when reputed capo Joseph Scopo of the Colombo family was executed near his home in Queens. Scopo made the mistake of backing convicted acting boss Vic Arena in the Colombo power struggle. The feds believe that offended forces loyal to imprisoned Chief Carmine Persico, who was reportedly pushing for his own son to take over. Believe it or not, the Genovese crime family that's supposedly run by Vincent Gigante is now emerging as the most powerful and wealthiest traditional syndicate in town.
He pretends that he's got mental problems, and I'm not to say that he does or does not have. As you know, there will be a hearing held eventually to determine whether he's able to stand trial, whether he has the mental capacity to stand trial.
Our days are numbered. I look at the Chinese, Vietnamese, Cubans, the Jamaicans, the Colombians. They're all waiting to wipe us out.
One thing that rings very true in the Vendetta movie is the concern among La Cosa Nostra groups that new crime syndicates will eat into their profits. There's even a mob war between the fictional Latella family and up-and-coming Chinese gangsters. We haven't seen that in New York, but we've certainly been fascinated by the likes of Sammy Bulgravano, an insider who turned on his own mob boss, John Gotti, and helped send him to prison. While the FBI is not pretending that it's decimated just yet, La Cosa Nostra here in New York City, its star witness is getting ready to testify at yet another mob trial. Sammy Bulgravano is expected on the stand this week at the trial of an alleged Gambino capo. He helped secure the conviction of another one at the end of November. I'm Mary Murphy for the Channel 11 News at 10.
New York City Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly took some heat today over reports of a gang of rogue cops loose inside the police department. Stephanie Shelton standing by at police headquarters in Lower Manhattan tonight with more on the story for us. Stephanie?
Well, Jack, Commissioner Kelly is applying damage control, but tonight there is apparently a widening probe into corruption at the elite Joint Drug Enforcement Task Force, and this is after the arrest of 2 NYPD detectives and a state trooper, and now it appears there may be as many as 6 others involved. Police Commissioner Kelly parried reporters' questions about corruption in the task force, defending its mission and its members.
We are looking at some of our practices and procedures in the task force and some of our personnel, but we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Only 2 weeks after undercover drug detective Louis Lopez was gunned down on the Lower East Side, his unit is under fire. The Daily News reporting a series of allegations of illegal activities. The paper says investigators tipped mobsters to drug-dealing locations so they could get there first, rob the dealers, and then split the booty with the cops. 4 members of an organized crime robbery team have been arrested. Investigators reportedly tried to corrupt confidential informants and then use them to sell illegally obtained drugs. Bumbling internal affairs investigators tipped off targets by openly following them. And a team of rogue task force cops allegedly robbed a Bronx jewelry store as they were raiding the place with a legal search warrant. The store's owner charged the cops took thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. Police internal affairs investigators ignored the allegation until now. The Joint Task Force has existed for 23 years. In the past 2 years alone, it has seized $21 million in cash, $155 million in assets, 15,000 pounds of cocaine, and 9 pounds of heroin. Commissioner Kelly says the corruption charges are embarrassing but limited.
The investigation is, of course, ongoing, but I think the problem is small. I think there still may be some actions that we'll take as a result of this investigation, but again, the vast majority of people in that task force are doing an outstanding job.
This summer, the Mullen Commission begins corruption hearings into the police department's own investigation unit, Internal Affairs. 41 supervisory people have already been transferred out of that unit. Police Commissioner Kelly says that's basically because of consolidation. Nothing unusual, he says. Live at Police Plaza, Stephanie Shelton, Channel 11 News at 10. Katie, Jack.
Good evening. The New York City police scandal may be mushrooming. The special prosecutor's office may seek charges against another set of officers from Brooklyn's embattled 77th precinct. 13 officers have already been suspended for allegedly robbing dope dealers of their drugs and money. Mary Murphy has the latest.
The evidence is on videotape, and one of the key investigators in the drug scandal at the 77 precinct says it's so strong and so damaging, indictments against 13 suspended police officers are expected by October 15th, 3 weeks from now. Investigators believe some cops may then plea bargain to get leniency and turn in other officers who may have been ripping off drug dealers in Bedford-Stuyvesant. Special State Prosecutor Charles Hines is the man who will present the case to a grand jury next week. He does not believe the case will be wrapped up so quickly.
First, the grand jury will meet. It'll meet for several weeks, and then it'll decide at the end of that period, maybe 4 or 5 weeks from now.
We understand that most of the police officers suspended have been observed on videotape in alleged drug deals or other types of transactions.
I'm not going to comment. That's a question of evidence, and I'm not going to discuss evidentiary questions outside the courtroom.
All of the suspended cops have asked their union, the Police Benevolent Association, for legal help. Most of the officers met at the Queen's office of PBA attorney Richard Hartman yesterday. And apparently, that's when they told Hartman they were approached by 2 undercover cops about shaking down drug dealers. The undercover officers had been caught on videotape earlier this year asking the dealers for protection money. And that's when they agreed to work undercover for Internal Affairs. If the 13 suspended cops are indicted, their lawyers may charge that they were entrapped. One top investigator told us today the evidence will show the cops were not only shaking down drug dealers, some were allegedly involved in other acts of extortion. Investigators say some cops were more brazen than others. You can't paint all of them with the same brush, they say. And tonight there are other shocking reports. Word that corruption exists in 7 other city precincts. Also word the special prosecutor may ask the grand jury to indict 12 other cops at the 7-7 for conspiracy.
I'm not going to add any fuel to the speculation that is going on.
For the Independent News, this is Mary Murphy.